Hello, it's Simon Zutshi here, and in this property education video, I want to share with you the impact from the Autumn Statement 2023 just announced by the Chancellor Jeremy Hunt. Now, there were all sorts of things that were mentioned that could be happening in this Autumn Statement 2023 to help the housing market. So we're going to look at the implication of each of those and also share the big shock announcement that nobody predicted that is actually going to be very good for you and your property investing. So my name's Simon Zutshi. I've been investing in property since 1995 and teaching people like you how to be a more successful investor for the last 20 years. I'm the author of Property Magic, the Amazon #1 bestseller, and also the founder of the Property Investors Network. Now, every time there's an announcement by the government or some new legislation, there's all sorts of speculation about what might happen. And I've found over the last 28 years, the best thing to do is to listen to what's being said, but actually wait until the announcements finally come out. Because very often there's speculation about things that might affect the buy-to-let property market that never actually happen. So for example, there was speculation that maybe the government would do something about stamp duty, as they did during the global financial crisis where they did a stamp duty holiday. There was talk maybe they'd do something like that to help stimulate the UK property market. Because the UK property market, along with the retail sector, are the two fundamental pillars of the UK economy. And let's face it, the economy is not in a good position right now. So the government had brought up some announcements that are designed to stimulate the economy. So let's look at each of these things in turn, see how they might affect your property investing and the UK property market. First of all, there have been no changes to stamp duty and no changes to inheritance tax, which is a bit of a disappointment because a lot of people thought that would probably happen. What the government have said is they are increasing the state pension, they're increasing benefits, and also relevant for you as a property investor, they are raising the allowance for Local Housing Authority Allowance. What this means is if you have tenants who are on benefits, all the rates were previously capped. They're now in April 2024 going to raise those, so you will be getting more. They're going up to 30%, which means you'll be getting more rental income for your tenants. And that's probably a good point, because otherwise you might get landlords saying, you know what, it's not worth me putting council tenants into the property because I'm just not getting as much rent as I could from a private tenant. And this has created even more pressure and causing this UK housing crisis. This is why rents have gone up so much in the last year or so. Most rents have gone up 10% on average, and that's because there is a real housing crisis. Fundamentally, there is not enough accommodation in the UK. The Labour Party, Keir Starmer, said that if they got into power next year, when we have the next general election, they have pledged to build 1.5 million new homes. That's 300,000 a year. I don't know how they're going to do that because there's not enough labour, there's not enough materials, but also the government, the current Conservatives also say that we need 300,000 homes new year. So there's no debate around that. There is just not enough accommodation in the UK right now. So if that's the case, how come property prices are not continuing to rise? How come UK property prices are coming down now? Well, one of the main problems is really because of the high inflation, and thus the interest rates have been put up as a macroeconomic tool to control inflation. Now, there's a big hoo-ha at the moment because Rishi Sunak said we wanted to bring down the rate of inflation by half, and he has done that. Inflation was over 10% early in 2023. Right now it's at 4.6%. So inflation has come down. And for the average person in a home, inflation is not a good thing. It means the cost of living goes up. If you've got money in the bank, that money is worth less at the end of the year because of the erosion effect that inflation has on your savings. However, as property investors, inflation is actually quite good because, again, our mortgage debt is being eroded by inflation. If we borrow £100,000 this year, next year that £100,000 is worth less in terms of buying power because of the effect of inflation. So actually, property investors, inflation is not too bad for us, but for normal homeowners and normal general public, it's not such a good thing. The biggest problem with inflation for us as investors is obviously the Bank of England put up interest rates to try and control inflation. Now, although inflation has dropped to 4.6%, which is half what it was earlier in the year, it's still double the Bank of England target of just 2%. What that means is probably interest rates are going to stay where they are, which are relatively high compared to the last decade where Bank of England base rate was only about 0.5%, but the rates are very similar to what they were before the last global financial crisis, which was in 2008, 2009. So what this means is we're probably not going to see interest rates come down, probably, I predict, till Q2 of 2024. This means there are still going to be challenges in terms of affordability for homeowners who want to buy properties. There's still challenges for property investors who are trying to buy single-let properties that don't really stack up because of the high rent multiplier required. So what this means is, even though there might be people who want to buy property, if they're struggling to get the finance, it's going to be a big problem. This is why creative strategies such as purchase lease options and vendor finance are really relevant in a falling property market. Now, you can use them in a rising property market as well, but because property prices are falling in the UK, what it means is people who can't sell but they want to sell, they might be more open and flexible to creative finance strategies such as purchase lease options and vendor finance. So a big recommendation, go and check out the other videos I have on this YouTube channel all about lease options and vendor finance. By the way, while I'm here, I might as well mention that if you like this video, please like it, please subscribe, and also hit the bell icon to make sure you're notified whenever timely videos come out. A lot of my content, they are very timely videos. In fact, over the next few weeks, I'm going to be releasing some very timely videos that you do not want to miss. You don't want to watch them 6 months after they've come out because you're going to miss some valuable information, which if you take action on, you can do really well. So I highly recommend you subscribe and hit that bell icon as well. Anyway, back to this autumn statement 2023. What does it mean for you and your property investing? And there was one really big shock announcement, which is going to be very beneficial for you and your property investing in 2023. So they are making changes to the permitted development rights, whereby you can take a house and convert it into 2 flats under permitted development. Now, that's never been the case before. There's lots of permitted developments for commercial units to convert into residential, and that's a huge opportunity right now as more and more commercial units are becoming redundant and defunct. You can actually take those and convert them. That's what permitted development rights mean. You can convert it without having to get planning permission. They never before have they said you can take a house and convert it into 2 flats without planning. So this is going to be really important. As long as you're not changing the outside of the building, you can make the necessary changes inside. Now, most property investors are not going to be aware of this. So this is a real piece of competitive information. You can look for houses, particularly in expensive areas, where you can buy a house that maybe needs some modernization, split it into 2 flats without having to get planning permission. And what that means is you can create 2 units that will have a higher combined value than the one purchase price plus the building cost. It's a very profitable strategy. It doesn't work so well where the initial property is quite cheap and the end properties are cheap as well. So it works much better in more expensive locations. But that's a great strategy you will be able to use. However, like anything, I think you need to jump on this really quickly. It's going to come out sometime next year. You want to start looking for opportunities because I'm sure some local councils might introduce what's called Article 4. Now, Article 4 is where they take away those permitted development rights. So if you have an Article 4 area with reference to this new permitted development, it means you would have to get planning permission to turn a house into 2 flats. But it's going to take a while for them to do that and get going. So this is one of those things where this information is very timely and you want to take action and move very, very quickly. So in summary, there's not a huge amount. Things like corporation tax remain the same at 25%. So I don't think there's a huge amount that's going to affect the housing market. However, this permitted development of a house into 2 apartments, that will help stimulate the supply of accommodation that may be more affordable for people to live in. Interestingly, there's always a lot of talk about, the government and Labour Party, they're going to build all these houses. One of the major problems at the moment is not so much the planning laws, it's the backlog and clog in the system in the planning departments. So what they really need to do is resource the planning departments in the local councils, maybe make it a more streamlined process to make sure that developers are not getting held up in the planning stages. That's really the main impact. I think they could do that and that would have a real impact on the supply of accommodation in the UK. What you need to remember long term is we don't have enough accommodation. We live on an island, a popular island. We have something like 500,000 immigrants coming each year to the UK, growing population. This means overall there is not enough accommodation. So if there's not enough accommodation due to supply and demand, long-term property prices and rents will continue to go up. However, Just like any market, prices are cyclical. That's why now we're seeing this downturn because prices were particularly high after the boom caused during the COVID period, and the high interest rates mean that prices are coming down. It's a buyer's market. The market is even named after you. As a buyer, this is such a good time to be buying as long as you know what you're doing. And you do need to keep up to date. You need to know what's happening. So I recommend you subscribe to this channel. You might listen to the podcast I do each week, the Property Magic podcast. And the other thing is you should go to a local property investor network meeting. Whenever big announcements like this come out, it's a great place to get updated information, to connect with other investors in your area, to see what they're doing. You don't have to do this alone. You don't have to work everything out yourself. You can connect and work with other successful people in your area. So go and check out your local PIN meeting at pinmeeting.co.uk. And if you've never been before, down in the description, there's going to be a link you can click on and also a voucher code you can use to come to your very first PIN meeting before, so you can come and see what you've been missing out on. There are physical meetings, there are a few virtual meetings still. We even have international meetings in the Netherlands and also in Dubai. So go to pinmeeting.co.uk, check out your local meeting. Why not book yourself in for the very next meeting coming along, see what you've been missing out on. If you've already been to PIN, you know how incredibly valuable those events are. So come and book your next meeting right now. Until next time, I encourage you to invest with knowledge, invest with skill. See you in the next video. Hello, it's Simon Zutshi here. I do hope you just enjoyed that YouTube video. And you know what? If you really want to move forward in your property investing, it's much easier to do it with the help of other people. And one of the best things you can do is go to your local property investor network meeting where you can meet other like-minded people. You can learn some of the very best strategies and really get a motivational positive boost every single month about what you could achieve from your property investing. Now, there are 50 plus meetings around the UK. We've got meetings in the Netherlands, we've got them in the UAE as well, and growing around Europe. So all you have to do is click on the link below this video, go to pinmeeting.co.uk. All the meetings are listed there. Click on the one that's closest to you, see when the date and time is, and if you want to attend that meeting, you're going to just buy a ticket, or if you want to come as my guest to your very first PIN meeting, just use the voucher code, which is the word YouTube, because obviously you've watched the YouTube video. So just go to pinmeeting.co.uk, pick your location, scroll down where it says payment options, click on pay with a voucher code, fill in the details, use the word YouTube, and it will bypass the payment page and you can come to your very first PIN meeting for free. If you haven't been yet, I highly recommend you come along and see exactly what you've been missing out on. You're going to wish you would have gone years ago. It's going to help you move forward massively with your property investing. So if you enjoy these videos, I highly recommend you go and check out the PIN meeting. Click on the link below in the description. Invest with knowledge, invest with skill, and enjoy the next video.